The New York Giants were relying on a lot of veteran leadership and veteran play last year at the safety position. But this year, with the likes of Logan Ryan and Julius Peppers now playing elsewhere, the New York Giants are going to be relying on a whole lot of youth to try to get them through at a safety position that does have some questions, but with a few players with high upside, including their starting safety. What's going on, everybody? This is NYG Jeffy T 3285, and I'm here for part 8 of the New York Giants Roundabout. And today, we're going to be talking about the safety position. With the safety position is one of those positions right now that have a lot of guys that have come into this team so far that have upside. They're trying to go through a bunch of safeties that are bigger guys in terms of their height and their weight, with a lot more hard-hitting style that fits into the defensive schemes that Wink Martindale would want to deploy in terms of his safeties that he wants on his roster. But right now, the New York Giants have a lot of young players that are very unproven, or young players just trying to emerge and become something in the NFL, or even take that leap to the next level in terms of stardom. And for the first person I'm going to be starting with, of course, that's the New York Giants safety from Alabama going into his third season, Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney has been a player that the New York Giants have been expecting and hoping would take that leap going into his second season last year. And he was able to do that as his numbers have increased from what they were in his rookie season in 2019 when he missed most of the season due to a broken foot. But Xavier McKinney was able to play not only the entire season, but be able to show some of those instincts and some of those abilities that the New York Giants hoped for when they drafted him in the second round in the 2020 NFL Draft. Xavier McKinney was able to have 93 combined tackles with 59 solo and 34 assisted, and he was able to have a remarkable 5 interceptions with 1 touchdown as well, and he was able to play in all 17 games, like I said. Xavier McKinney is a guy that can come down into the box, and he can be able to play that box safety type role, but is even able to be able to play some good coverage skills as long as he doesn't get overexposed when it comes to those deep coverages. He's pretty solid when it comes to the underneath stuff, but he does have a tendency to get lost at times while playing that deep safety role. And I think that's why the New York Giants were able to draft some other players and also pick up some undrafted free agents that might be able to make it easier on Xavier McKinney, who's probably going to be asked to play more of that box safety role, which fits his skill set a lot better. Now, the other safety that's going to be probably right now, it looks like to be starting, is the fourth-year veteran, and that's Julian Love, the do-it-all Swiss knife type player that the New York Giants have brought in, who originally was drafted as a cornerback when he was drafted in the 4th round from Notre Dame in 2019. But he's played pretty much all over the place, whether it's been a slot cornerback, he's played on the outside, and he's even had some play at safety, which is what he's going to be going into this season. He's going to be strictly a guy that's going to be playing strong safety, or he's probably going to be playing safety most of the time. I think free safety at the most. Julian Love was able to have 56 combined tackles for 32 solo as well as 24 assisted. He was able to record a half a sack as well as 1 interception in 17 games. Julian Love's best role is a guy he's a very good instinctual safety who's able to go help in the run game, and he's a very strong tackler. Julian Love's game has always been he's a strong tackler. When he's able to put his head into the play, he's able to make the tackle, and most of the time guys will not be able to break through. But he does struggle at times in terms of his coverage as well. That's where both Xavier McKinney and Julian Love have struggled the most, is their coverage skills, as they have not been strong when it comes to those deep safety looks. And that's why both guys have had problems getting beat over the top, as well as get beat on some of those deep crossing routes or some of those deep routes. They both can be solid in terms of underneath coverage. But that's where the biggest issues are with Julian Love and, of course, with Xavier McKinney. But I think Julian Love is a guy that if you put him in the right role and you let him just play that safety position, I think you might be able to get the most out of him and even maybe switch him and Xavier McKinney at times, and both of them can't play the box. The problem is both guys are similar type players, and neither of them are very strong in the coverage department, but are much better in the run safety department. I think McKinney will be much stronger when it comes to being a blitzer, while Julian Love is going to be much better in the run game. Now I'm going to talk about, and both these guys, they're 100% locks, unless somehow Julian Love is dangled in trade talks this offseason, And maybe the Giants think that these young other safeties that they have on the roster might be able to contribute a lot quicker on a season one. Maybe they could dangle Julian Love for a future pick in the 2023 NFL draft. But I think unless that happens, I think Julian Love and Xavier McKinney are 100% locks for this roster, and I would not even be shocked if both of them are the starting safeties when the New York Giants open their season against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee on September 11th. Now I'm going to talk about some of the other young safeties that have been acquired onto the roster, and that's guys like Henry Black, Trenton Thompson, and of course Yusev Corker, and the fourth round pick, Dane Belton. Now I'm going to start with Dane Belton, who is the fourth round pick that the New York Giants selected out of Iowa. He's a 6'1", 205-pound safety, so it's a pretty big safety. He's got a little bit of height him, it's a little bit of size, and he's a guy that excels when it comes to the shutdown zone. He's very good in his coverage instincts. This is a guy that you wanted to get in there because the New York Giants have lacked that coverage type safety, and this is exactly what Dane Belton's game is. He's very good when it comes to the coverage, but he struggles with his balance when it comes to his coverage. That means he gets very off balance at times, and if you could have a receiver or tight end that's good like with their quick moves, it might make Dane Belton a little bit off kilter because he's going to struggle when it comes to those types of coverages. So you have to watch out for that. But it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get used to the NFL game, so he could struggle with that at times at the beginning of his career. But he's also a guy that's very good in the run defense too. So that's another safety that you bring in that could be solid when it comes to the run defense. So the New York Giants obviously made it a big time question that they want to go out there and try to improve their run defense, not only in their defensive line, but also with their cornerbacks, their safeties, and their linebackers. They want to try to improve that run defense, which was one of the worst in the NFL last year. So his instincts are also very good. He's pretty much a guy that you want to try to put in there and have him be a good, strong coverage safety. I think he just is the type of player that's he's the opposite of what you have in Xavier McKinney and Julian Love. He's a good coverage safety, but he could also be able to come in the run game and be able to provide some good run stopping as well. He's a guy, though, that's going to have to continue to develop his game going forward. I think he's a 100% lock. Dane Belton could even be a guy that could usurp a guy like Julian Love to be able to start for the New York Giants at that safety position if they feel like Julian Love and Xavier McKinney, their skill sets are too parallel with one another, and they'd rather go with Dane Belton and see what he can bring to the table in terms of his coverage skills overall. So now I'm going to go to the other highly projected player, the undrafted free agent out of Kentucky, and that of course who I'm talking about is Yusev Corker. He's 6 foot 203 pounds, so another big safety with pretty good size, maybe a little bit shorter but good size, and he's also a guy that's got good plus run instincts. He's got good plus instincts when it comes to his game, so he's going to be able to read the play immediately, and most of the time he's going to be able to make it, and he's not going to get confused when it comes to when the play's right at him, he's going to make the play when it's there. Unfortunately, what the problem with Yusev Corker is he's very, very poor when it comes to his tackling. He's a guy that misses way too many tackles when he has the chance to wrap up in a defender. He misses them way too much, and that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to Yusev Corker and his run defensive game. So he's got to improve on that if he's going to not only try to make the New York Giants roster, but try to get some playing time as well. But he's also another guy. We have a trend right here. Loves and eager to play the run. He's another guy that loves to play against the run defense, and that's something that you need for the New York Giants going forward. More run defense from these secondary players. But he also plays with a good downhill trigger. So this is a guy, when he's going to run up there and he's going to hit you. He's going to be a guy that when he's ready to make the play and he gives it his full force, he's going to run up there and he's going to hit you. With exactly what you want from a strong safety type player, that he's going to hit you when he's there. And he seems like he's got his potential to be a dime and nickel safety on the next level. But he's just got to be able to improve on his tackling. But he seems to be a guy that's your prototypical good backup box safety. Maybe potentially to develop in a starter if he can work on his tackling as well as his coverage skills. But he's going to be a guy that's going to be competing to potentially make that roster maybe as a fourth safety. So I think Yusev Corker's chances, I would put it 50-50 exactly, because I don't know how many safeties the New York Giants are going to be bringing onto this roster. So I think that Yusev Corker's best shot to make this team is at a a good solid backup box safety, and maybe even a guy that can win it out on special teams, as he has played special teams before. Now I'm going to talk about Henry Black, the free agent the New York Giants have brought in from the Green Bay Packers last year. Henry Black, another good safety with size, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a box safety with good size, but he's a good safety that when it comes to his size, and he needs to. He struggles at times with, his instincts. So he's the opposite of what Yusev Corker is. He struggles when it comes to his instincts, and when the play is there, he struggles to make it. He doesn't attack the play when it's there and necessarily. He has good closing speed, though. When the play is there, he sometimes will be able to make the play when it's in front of him. That's when he's not second guessing himself. So when he's not second guessing himself, he's able to make the play when it's in front of him. He's a good nickel dime safety. He's got decent coverage skills underneath, and he's going to be a guy that when the play is there underneath, he's going to be able to go up there and he's going to make the pass defense, and he's going to be able to cover the wide receivers when it comes to those bubble screens and stuff a little bit better than some of the other safeties on this roster. But he's got to work on his balance and his control. That's another thing. His balance is sometimes off kilter when it's like a player shifts into another gear, or a player shifts into a break. When he's running his route and he cuts off into a different direction, his balance is all whacked out when it comes to Henry Black. So he's got to work on that. He's another guy that's going to be coming in, and he's going to be trying to make this roster as a special teams guy, maybe as a backup safety. He could be a backup guy for a guy like Dane Belton. So he's probably another 50-50 chance to make this roster. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's competing with Yusev Corker, and the next guy on this list I'm going to list, and that's Trenton Thompson, the undrafted free agent out of San Diego State, who is 6'2". So he has the most size probably of the safeties on the New York Giants roster. He's 200 pounds. He's a good ragey defender, and in his senior season, he was a 3-year starter. He had 21 pass breakups with 12 tackles for loss in his 2021 season. He has enough speed to be there when it comes to the play. So he can make the play when it's in front of him. But he's probably more likely going to be a special teams player. One of the biggest issues with Trenton Thompson is he lacks that top end speed, and he's 24 years old. So this is a guy that's going to be coming into the league that's already an older player. And he's a guy that you're going to have to pretty much see that if he's going to make the roster. He's sort of like what Williams was, where Darius Williams is for the cornerback position. This is exactly what Trenton Thompson is for the safety position. He's an older player coming into the league, and he's going to pretty much have to carve out his role as a special teams guy. And maybe if he shows the instincts in training camp and preseason, he can maybe be a guy that wins one of those backup safeties role. If the New York Giants are looking for more experience at that safety position. And then I'm going to talk about the other player on the list, and that's Jaren Williams. He's also a guy that came in, and he was a cornerback by trade when he was coming as an undrafted free agent last year. But he's going to be switched over to safety, as the New York Giants have a lot of cornerbacks that are going to be competing for roster spots for the New York Giants in training camp and preseason. So Jaren Williams is going to have to be a guy that's going to have to come in and compete for a potential backup role either on special teams, or maybe even could carve out a role as a backup safety on certain plays when it comes to nickel and dime positions. But I think he's got the least amount of chance because he's making that switch from cornerback to safety to make this roster, and he's going to have to strictly make this team as a backup. So there's going to be a lot of competition. The New York Giants safety position is young. It is very young, but they clearly had an idea of what kind of safeties they want to bring in. They wanted guys that could come in and be good run defenders with a good underneath coverage skills. And some of these guys are going to be coming in to try to help out when it comes to that coverage of the tight ends, which they've struggled with for many years, as well as some guys that can play the deep safety and get those coverage skills when needed. So that's just my overview of the New York Giants safety position on the New York Giants Roundabout Part 8. Stay tuned on Friday for the cornerback position edition for the New York Giants Roundabout Part 9. So I'm going to be going instinct, and I'm going to go in depth on the New York Giants cornerback position on Friday. And I'm going to give you the details on all the guys competing, the percentages of making the roster, etc. But this has been New York Giants Part 8 edition of the New York Giants Roundabout. I hope everybody enjoys their Thursday. take it easy, and just remember, let's go New York Football Giants.